And it's your champions. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and here in the studio is Caleb Garrett with University of North Florida, the Coggin College of Business. Wow, it's a mouthful. Caleb, how are you?
Hey, man, good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. Nah.
Yeah.
A lot going on at UNF.
Yeah.
So, University of North Florida. Why is University of North Florida important to the city, and what's happening over there?
Yeah. So I work at Coggin College of Business, like you said.
Yeah.
Formerly at the College of Computing, Engineering, and Construction. So when I think of UNF, I think a lot of workforce development. I think of those companies and professionals that come out of UNF. Some stats that I always think of that I hear our president also parrot a lot is 80% of UNF students stay in Florida, 70% stay in Northeast Florida. So when we think about
that's huge.
It's huge.
That's huge. I mean, you're literally educating your workforce that's going to stay here. Yeah.
So that's, I think that's where maybe if I worked in arts and science, I might think differently, but when I think about UNF, I think about, supplying the workforce for our region. Undergrad students that, today is graduation day for this semester.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so,
okay. Good for them.
Starting Monday, maybe, a lot of these students are going out, they're joining the workforce.
Yeah.
And so when I think about impact, that's a big piece there.
Do you think that was done on purpose, or it just happened just because of the dynamics associated with Northeast Florida?
Yeah, I think kind of both and. I think, you have UNF that's always been a little bit of a commuter school, especially when it started in the 70s and 80s. You have, you people in, I was with an alumni the other day who graduated in 1975.
Okay.
And he was out of the military.
Yeah.
Did 2 years at, I guess it wasn't FSJ.
Yeah, it was FCCJ.
Before then, it was something else. Florida Junior College, I think.
Yeah.
And he did, so he was in the military. He did 2 years there and then worked full-time and went to UNF.
Okay.
So you've had a lot of that. And then I think even as UNF's grown, as we've had more freshmen, kind of larger freshman classes, more traditional students, Jacksonville's grown.
Yeah.
So there's lots of internship opportunities, job opportunities, where we'll have students come from out of state, but then they get locked into an internship sophomore year, and the companies don't let them go.
Yeah.
There's a student I remember talking to in our college of or our school of engineering, and by senior year he was on his 6th internship. So he was an engineering student, but he had worked at a construction company, a small engineering firm, a large engineering firm, and it was cool because by senior year he knew exactly where he wanted to land.
That's good.
And those are opportunities that were probably available because he's in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So I think some of that is just the nature of where we're at in an urban environment rather than kind of a secluded college town.
Yeah, and I imagine, 6 is quite a bit, but the reality is, if most students, if they want, they will get some form of an internship at least once in their college experience.
Yeah.
And I like that because they get to try it on, right? And the great thing about this opportunity is almost like a handshake between the college and the workforce or the business, is the fact that the businesses get to work with these folks and then kind of develop, hey, is this a good marriage or good opportunity to work with this student? Because you don't see that. Some of our larger colleges, nothing against them, but the problem is, when you have sheer mass and depending where they're geographically located, you just don't get a marriage between the city and all the other human variables and then business variables associated with the academic variables that marry up cleanly like it appears to be happening here.
No, certainly, yeah. So it's a great benefit I think you'll see in a lot of UNF programs too, projects sponsored by local companies.
Okay.
So other ways that the businesses locally can integrate into what we're doing.
Yeah.
But you probably don't have elsewhere.
Have you seen, you've been over 6 years now, right?
Yeah.
So 6 years, the evolution of change, we've kind of talked about that, but what are some of the current initiatives or future initiatives that the leadership there at UNF are looking at?
Yeah. So one of the big ones, I'll talk about two, but one broad one is going from about 17,000 students now to 25,000.
Okay.
So UNF has always been kind of small class size, kind of sleepy little school, and speaking about kind of workforce development, we've had Jax USA and the Chamber and folks kind of say, hey, we love what you were doing, but we need more.
Oh, really?
We need more workforce.
A little bit more demand signal.
Yeah, a little more demand.
Okay.
I think about working at the other college too. I remember talking with people in the construction industry, and they were saying, we just need you to graduate twice as many. The great students, we just need more.
Yeah.
So we're in a really big kind of growth period right now.
But I can only imagine it's purposeful growth. You guys are growing just because you're growing because the demand's there, the need's there, and then I know UNF will continue to provide a quality graduate, so it won't be done just in the name of scaling. Yeah.
Certainly, and and in specific kind of areas that we're seeing a lot of need in.
Okay.
Transportation and logistics lives in our college. That's a big one.
It's funny that degree didn't exist like 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
I believe it. Yeah.
It's amazing how society changes, so academia changes with it.
Yeah. And it's wild too. You're seeing a lot of that even at the high school level. So we're about to host, along with Jax USA, some high school teachers in logistics. So these logistics academies we have around the city.
Okay.
So I mean, it's getting younger that I think industry people are also trying to get out there and say, this is a great field.
Yeah.
Kind of do some education on those job opportunities because there's a lot in that field.
Yeah.
So a lot of the growth will be in nursing, and you'll see some areas that they kind of make sense where we need to grow, cybersecurity, and where the workforce is telling us the demand is. Yeah.
It's funny, I had a conversation, another podcast, Frontline Visionaries, that Randall Thomas and I, shout out Randall, that we hosted with Dasha Tishlik, and she came in. She's a med tech expert, and she talked about the current state and the future state of healthcare in a downward trajectory if we're not very careful, growing the talent within the workforce at a younger age rather than an older age. And the fact is that transcends over time and space. You have an older population with our specifically with our baby boomers and some of our older Gen Xers, which I fall in that category, moving into the retirement phase, but also with healthcare demands.
We're going to need the healthcare, right?
We're going to need the healthcare. Right. So, you guys, getting ahead of that with your, developing people that are in the medical profession is wise.
Yeah, no, certainly. So that's the growth is, of course, one big thing we're talking about at UNF. But another thing kind of related to workforce development that we've talked about is starting with this next freshman class that starts in 2025, in fall 2025. Every UNF student is going to have an experiential learning opportunity. So it'll on their transcript, you got to check that off. And so that's going to, I think we're still kind of working out what all that includes, but it can include internships, project companies. I think, for us, study abroad is a big thing in our international business degree.
It's huge.
So all these experiences that go a little beyond the classroom and prepare students in a more unique way, we're trying to really hone in on that.
Yeah.
And kind of what we were talking about before, that's probably a luxury that's given to us because we're in Jacksonville, because you have companies that want to partner on projects, because you have internship opportunities. So we're trying to say, this is something we can do better than anyone else. So let's leverage that and make that really one of our kind of calling cards.
I love that, because when you think about, and it's probably more than the three-legged stool here, but you mentioned internship, you mentioned projects, and then the study abroad. With my own kind of reflection, taking a look at my own career, not bragging, but been to 52 different countries, lived across the United States. Is somebody asked me, they said, you have kind of a worldly view. I said, well, some of it's a byproduct of just travel. I think if you want to understand the world, you want to understand people, you need to read and you need to travel.
Yeah.
And part of that is we live in a global economy, and Greg Grant and I have talked about that over at JSEB, is the fact that you look at Jacksonville and this integral piece that UNF plays as part of the city. When we got, we look at transportation specifically, I-95, the I-10 corridor, we've got a port facility, we've got a large airport, and that whole area is starting to blow up out there with different companies like Amazon and others. Yeah. So as Jacksonville becomes a huge hub for capability across different businesses, the fact you guys are getting ahead of this to educate that workforce, and they're going to stay here, that's important. And the fact that they're choosing to stay here means that there's some secret sauce here in the city. That nice place to live, beach is closed, weather's good.
No, I think all of that. Students that come down from the Northeast, I hear them talk about, hey, I'm never leaving. I can go to the beach. I think getting ahead of that with the study abroad is interesting for a more international kind of economy.
That's right.
But I know something I hear a lot from employers, so my job is mostly on kind of the fundraising side, but there is a lot of corporate involvement, of course, with that. But they're always saying soft skills. That's what we need to see students. We know UNF is going to provide students that know the technical, skills, hard skills, but we need them to be able to have critical thinking, communication skills.
Yeah.
And, when you're dropped in a foreign country, that helps.
That helps.
That helps develop that. Yeah. Kind of sink or swim.
You're at a disadvantage in many cases, just language-wise. So now you have to kind of figure things out. But I appreciate that because, like you stated, the soft skills matter because, as I've told folks, when I was in the military and then in my post-military career in business, we're all in the people business. We deal with people, and we are on teams. So if you can't be a good teammate or a good leader in some capacity, then it's great you're the smartest person in an engineering department, but nobody wants to work with you. And you can't move anything because of a variety of reasons that people don't want to work for you or work with you.
Yeah, and especially probably as AI takes more and more of those jobs that you can just do in a cubicle with headphones on. The soft skills will be more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's something I think we're always thinking about too when we hear that from employers and companies too.
So Caleb, how do people find UNF, and then how do they find you?
Yeah. So really easy, unf.edu, our website there. And I hope that, being in Jacksonville, you could just step out the front door, throw a rock, and hit a UNF alumni, and you can start to get engaged in some different ways.
I appreciate that.
But for me, obviously on our website, but I'm on LinkedIn,
on LinkedIn.
Regularly.
Right.
So Caleb Garrett, but so any ways you'd want to plug in or you don't want to plug in with the college and university, we're always happy to have those conversations.
Awesome. Caleb, always good to see you.
Thanks, man.
We're going to take all that contact information, put in our show notes, and encourage folks to reach out and link in with, connect with you and I on LinkedIn, and then continue the dialogue, talk about UNF and all the great things that are happening out there.
All right, man.
Appreciate
it.
Hey, folks, if you like what you heard, please share us, connect with us on LinkedIn. As stated, take a look at UNF if you got, if you personally are looking for an education opportunity, or if you have loved ones looking for a great opportunity to go to a great school in a good location in the beautiful Florida, take a look at UNF, and we'll see you in our next segment. Live with gratitude.